Hello and welcome back to the JNCIS Security Video Training Series. In this section we are going to be discussing the Junos anti-spam feature. So let's dive in. Spam is unwanted email messages usually sent by commercial, fraudulent, or malicious entities. It can be prevented before it enters the network with anti-spam products, one of which is part of Juniper's UTM feature set, which also includes antivirus, web, and content filtering. When a branch SRX determines an email to be spam, it can block the message or tag the header or subject with a predetermined string of text. There are two methods of detecting spam on the SRX: an external block list, which requires a license, or local list, which does not require a license. The external block list uses an external, constantly updated server on the Internet to identify spam. The SRX must have an anti-spam license, Internet connectivity to the SBL server, a system DNS server must be set, and the anti-spam profile must have the SBL server enabled. Local lists are manually added lists of IP addresses, domain names, or email addresses. There are two flavors of addresses: whitelist, which allows messages through, and blacklist, which blocks or tags messages. Message tags can go into a header or the subject line. Local lists can use an asterisk and a question mark as wildcards, but the asterisk must be at the beginning of an email address, and the question mark must be at the end. Lists are checked in the order whitelist, blacklist, and SBL server. The sender's IP address is checked first against all three, then the sender's domain name, then the sender's email address. The first piece of data to match wins and determines the action that is to be taken. The SRX device must meet a few requirements to use the SBL server. First, you must have a valid anti-spam license purchased. Also, you must have Internet connectivity with the SBL server. The entry for the third-party SBL server is predefined on the SRX device, and it is not configurable. Juniper has partnered with a particular vendor, Sophos, to provide server-based anti-spam functionality. Additionally, the DNS must be available to access the SBL server. Therefore, a name server entry must be properly defined and working in the SRX. The SRX device performs the SBL lookups through the DNS. The SBL lookups are performed against the IP address of the email sender or relaying agent. The DNS server then forwards each request to the SBL server, which returns a DNS response to the SRX device. The SRX device looks at the DNS response to determine if the email sender is a spammer. The process automatically occurs when inbound or outbound email transverses the SRX. You can manually test or query the SBL server to determine whether an IP address is identified as spam. The SBL server filters on an IP-based blacklist, and certain criteria must be met if the server is to be included on the blacklist. Spam sources must be running on an open relay or open proxy, zombie hosts, dynamic IP range, or a confirmed spam source. When an email is blocked, it can be done at either the connection level or the email level. At the connection level, the SMTP connection is rejected if the sender's IP or domain is on the blacklist. Connections are blocked at the email level if an email address matches that of a known sender. Both will send an error code that will close the session as well. Configuring anti-spam entails configuring whitelists and blacklists under the custom-objects hierarchy. An anti-spam profile that defines an action and optionally the SBL server under the feature profile hierarchy. Create a UTM policy that references the anti-spam profile and then assigns that policy to a security policy. The second method of anti-spam filtering is the use of local lists. This method allows you to manually add an IP address, domain name entry, or email address to whitelists and blacklists. The SRX device stores and enforces these lists locally. No license is required for local list spam filtering. A whitelist identifies known good email senders that you want the SRX device to accept. The email message that matches a source on the whitelist is deemed harmless. A match allows the email traffic to pass through the SRX device. A blacklist contains the email sources that you want the device to reject. The email messages that match the blacklist are deemed malicious. A match either blocks the email message or tags the message, depending on the action specified in the anti-spam profile configuration. The tag options allow you to configure a message in the email subject line or in the protocol header of the packet. When you choose to tag the subject line, a user-defined string is added at the beginning of the subject line of the email. When you choose to tag the header, a user-defined string is added to the protocol header of the packet. Entries can be configured on either lists by IP address, email address, or domain name. You can use the asterisk or question mark as wildcards on the local list. You must precede all wildcard URLs with an http:// You can only use the asterisk wildcard character if it is at the beginning of the URL and is followed by a period. You can only use the question mark wildcard character at the end of a URL. The SRX device follows a specific order of checking anti-spam. The device first checks incoming email against local whitelists and blacklists. If no match exists on either of these lists, the SRX device queries the SBL server for a match. If a match exists on any of the lists, the SRX device takes an action. Depending upon which list is matched, the default spam action either blocks or tags. In configuring the local lists, the sender's IP address is checked first on the whitelist, and then the blacklist, and then the SBL server. If no matching IP address is found, the device checks for a sender's domain name on the whitelist, and then the blacklist. If no matching domain name is found, again the device looks for the sender's email address, again on the whitelist first, and then on the blacklist. On either list, if multiple domain suffixes are configured, the SRX device matches against the longest suffix. Once a match occurs on a list, no more matching is processed. Identifying spam means identifying the senders of spam email. The SBL server filters on an IP-based blacklist, and it considers IP addresses included in the list to be invalid addresses for mail servers. Criteria must be met to list an email server's IP address as spam. The SBL criteria to determine spam includes the following: running an open relay service, running an open proxy service, zombie hosts, dynamic IP range, which will likely not host a mail server, and a confirmed spam source, or a known IP owned by spammers. When it comes to handling identified spam, once the SRX identifies spam, it either blocks or tags the email traffic. Blocked spam is dropped at either the connection level or the email level. If the SRX tags spam at the connection level, based on its IP address or domain name, it tags all the emails on the connection. Otherwise, if the SRX device tags spam at the email level, it tags just the individual email message. The SRX generates a log message each time it identifies a spam message. The log message contains information about the spam email sender and the type of matching spam filter, and what action the SRX took. To prevent or reduce the volume of spam messages you receive, you must configure custom objects, an anti-spam profile, and a UTM policy. If you are using local list spam filtering, you must configure whitelists and blacklists under custom objects. If you are using only server-based spam filtering, you do not have to configure the local list under custom objects. The AntiSpam feature profile is where you apply any local lists that are configured. The feature profile also includes the configuration from the default spam action. Next, you need to create a UTM policy that references the AntiSpam profile. Finally, you need to assign the UTM policy to a security policy. This graphic examines the command line interface configuration for the UTM custom objects and features profile for AntiSpam. Under the custom-objects hierarchy, you can configure the local whitelists and blacklists. And this graphic illustrates how to configure the UTM custom objects using the Junos Web Interface, or JWeb. The UTM configuration is under the Security menu on the left side. You begin by configuring the custom objects so that they can be used in the feature profile and UTM policies. Generally, configuring these options in the JWeb is preferable over command line. Monitoring and verifying AntiSpam. Here are some commands that you can use to verify your AntiSpam configuration. You have the Show Security UTM AntiSpam Statistics command. You have the Show Security UTM AntiSpam Status command, and the Show Log Message command, which you can use with the match statement of AntiSpam. This output shows the total number of email messages, how many hit the whitelist or blacklist, and the total number of spam. The next Show command displays the AntiSpam status for connections, including whitelist and blacklist server information. The Show Security UTM Anti-Spam status. To verify AntiSpam operations, use the test command. Test Security Anti-Spam Profile, the name of your profile, test string, and then the name of your test string. This graphic demonstrates how to test the AntiSpam profile to verify that the lists will be properly matched. Alright, so let's review. What are the global UTM configuration elements for AntiSpam? Well, the global UTM configuration elements of AntiSpam are whitelists, blacklists, configured as custom objects. What is the match importance order used to identify spam? The match importance order for identifying spam is IP address on the whitelist, IP address on the blacklist, IP address on the SBL server, domain name on the whitelist, domain name on the blacklist, and email address on the whitelist and email address on the blacklist. Which commands can you use to verify your AntiSpam is working? The CLI commands to verify AntiSpam operation are test security UTM AntiSpam profile, the profile name, test string, your test string, and the Show Security UTM AntiSpam status, and the Show Security UTM AntiSpam statistics. Alright, that's it for this section. Now it's time to take a short quiz and test your knowledge. After the quiz, go ahead and move on to the next section. Thanks for watching.